Golden Boys podcast featuring one and only Dylan. That's it. And Andy, the most important part of Shirt Show. And Joann. With Print Girl Mafia.
And Shirt Kong.
And I feel so unprepared because they have cool stickers clipped to the arm mics. Or arm mics? Mic arms? Boom. Whatever. It's
Mike's arm.
Mike's. Heck yeah. I got some friends here today, and it is sweet. We've had a good day. We've had tacos. I got to show them both studios. This studio.
Super unimpressed.
That is super deceiving. They walked in the back and they're like, yeah, this is like an 8-foot by 8-foot room.
You're starting to see how Andy likes having me talk with him on the podcast.
I just want to say sorry for what is about to happen here to everybody.
Just degrade everybody.
Yeah,
Oh, it's going to be so good. Yeah, we've had a fun day. I already feel that I've gotten a ton of wisdom for the other shop. I really look up to you guys. So it's good to have you guys here, picking your brains.
Man, we talked about a lot.
Yeah. My dark room's gonna be sweet.
It's gonna be way better now.
Not gonna freaking use wood to build those dang racks.
And we measured his
Yes.
distance between
Measured is.
the dryer and the pallets.
Yeah. I it's funny. I was texting Andy and I was like, it was just so random. He just sent a text like, hey, make sure the belt is 30 inches exactly from the safety bar from your press. And I'm like, heck yeah. So I did it and it's nice. I like it. It's real good. But he didn't believe me and he got a tape measure out and he checked it. And how did I do?
Passed. You
Awesome.
passed.
You just did arm length.
Exactly 30 inches.
He's like, yep.
Yeah, it's been sweet. Super unprepared, but hey, this is gonna be fun. I just got some questions. They're super random. Sounds about really what I've figured out is going from a manual shop to an auto shop. There is just so many things that people don't talk about, but it's extremely hard to, if you're an auto shop and you've been doing it for years, to even talk about it, or even in the the starting stages of your shop to share that information, because you're just trying to figure out how to get it, just trying to figure out how to do it. And so being able to share that information, and get it out there to it's like, oh yeah, here's and not every shop is, the same. So it's, new stuff. Each individual shop has its own thing, how equipment comes in and vice versa. But yeah, I want to talk about, got a list. Top 5 things you learn going from a manual to an auto that people need to hear. And I know some of these things have probably been shared on Shirt Show. I mean, you guys have done a freaking 100+ episodes now.
105.
105. So it's probably been shared a few times, but it hasn't been on this podcast. So Andy's going to start it off.
So it usually happens. I say Andy.
Top 5. Okay.
They can be small.
Just do one. Go back and forth.
Yeah.
Bounce back and forth.
Let's see. Not in any descending order. Or this isn't any. Okay. I think the number one thing is no. Then I just said it. See, number one. I think something for me would be that was difficult transition for me was just probably my underbase. Because you're so used to having such control, like standing right over the screen. Mm-hmm. You can see if you've cleared the ink or not, or and your pressures right away and all that sort of stuff. It's just in your control. You've had a feel of it for years and years, and you just second nature.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have a machine that's going to print your underbase, and all of those things have to be set, a certain way, and you're not really sure what your pressure is or your angle or all that sort of stuff. And also it could be on the complete other side of the press that stuff's happening, and you can't see it. I once saw a shop that had these, how like you have those, if you're going around a corner, a mirror, like a convex mirror, you can see like down in the other parts of your press or whatever. I mean, I think that's a really good idea. But for me, that's what it was really, is just, having all that control and being able to touch and feel. I'm a touchy-feely kind of guy. Having that. Ask Dylan. Oh, I'm sorry.
Me first, then Joanne.
Damn it.
That was the right order.
As I do that, I take off her. Yeah. So for me, that's probably an important one.
I think that's a good one though too, because there's a good buddy of mine that has Black Dog screen printing in Australia, and I always talk to him, and I think he's like one of the best manual printers I've ever seen. And he's always doing these like crazy sim process prints, but he does them all manually. And I was asking him some stuff about like 305s and like all this other stuff that he's doing, and I was telling him, I was like, I've tried those things, like it doesn't work for me. And he's like, it's probably because I'm manually printing and I have so much more control over just like how I'm like my laydowns and stuff. And he's like, I bet I'm in for a world of hurt when I get a manual or an auto, because I'm gonna have to change all my settings and I'm gonna have to do things differently. So
Yeah.
I think like that's definitely true. Like what Andy was saying with the underbase, it's just like different pressures and speeds and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, things aren't perfect on a manual press, and so if let's say you print and one side's a little light, well, I'm going to push a little
Right, you
harder
pull the
on
screen
this
down,
side.
you print it again.
Yeah, and so with auto, it's usually too late.
Well, that's the other thing with an auto too. Like on a manual, you look at it and you're like, "Oh, cool! I printed something." And you mess up. You're at the most usually like 6 shirts in.
Yeah.
On an auto, you don't find out you messed up until you get 16, 20, whatever in, and then you mess up harder and bigger when it's an auto situation. But
Yeah. I didn't like listening to your guys' podcast, like hearing all these people talk about spoilage, and I'm like, what's that? Like, yeah, I messed up a shirt, like on an order, and I'm like, oh, that's what they're literally a hair, a random hair you got underneath the screen, and
lead
literally
balls or anything like that.
jeez, like, yeah, that's insane.
The thing is, it gets to be automated. I mean, they're loading and unloading. They're not doing the process of pulling down. They look at the shirt longer, everything else. You get going in like a couple 100-piece run, and they might stop paying attention so much and realize, oh yeah, there's a giant lip ball or a hair or something. And then you look, and like 60 shirts in all have like this tiny hole in the middle of the artwork or something. And you're like, yep, cool, let's reorder those and do that again.
Yeah. I just recently did a job, and like literally it was like 6 tiny like pinholes like right in the left up corner.
It's always the edge of the palette.
Yeah. Yep. And I was like, I think it was only like 40 shirts, but still I'm like, oh, okay, spray gun. I got to blast all those out, run them through. And yeah, it was not fun, especially after, because it's all about the speed. You're like, oh man, yeah, I can get things done faster. But that is such a misconception about like going into the auto. It's like, yes.
Well, people think that you're automating it, you're taking the human out of it, but there's still, it's just like 2 different craftsmen basically.
Yeah.
It's just like you still have to play with pressures and angles and
Yeah.
Even press speed and all that stuff. Like you're still doing all that. You're just not doing the actual like
Yep.
manual labor and pulling a squeegee.
I mean, you're a designer if you have a pen and paper or a pencil and paper and you're drawing on a piece of paper, but then you're also a designer if you're using an iMac or a tablet, and you're in Photoshop or Illustrator or something, and so it's just a different tool.
Yeah.
For sure. But I have a funny story about going from manual to auto. Is the first, I think, week, and I let it probably go for about a month. But when she first started. She was there from week 1, but I had been on an auto for a while.
This is 2009.
But she was only on a manual, and so I was loading for the first time. I'm loading shirts, and she thought she'd be helpful, right? And she said, "Hey, I'm going to hand you the shirts so you can, this will be faster. That way you can load them faster." I was like, Okay, yeah, cool.
And you didn't want to say no
I
to
didn't
her.
have the heart.
Yeah.
You let me sit on the cart and swing my feet and hand them shirts like one by one.
I was going like so slow, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, perfect, thanks.
Sweetheart.
You're basically just switching every time because the dwell isn't even slow enough.
But that's another thing is that going from a manual to an auto is that you're used to a lot of times on a manual you're solo, like you're a single press operator and you're loading on the shirt and offloading the shirt and spinning the carousel and stuff like that. Whereas you go to an auto, like in our shop where we run in teams, you just basically we even have people that set up jobs and sometimes walk away, and other people, and then somebody that just loads
Yep.
and unloads. Because if you're to have somebody that can do all of that stuff sometimes is tough, and if you have multiple presses and to have multiple people that can, set up and register a job and also run the job and load the shirts and all those things, sometimes you're short people, and maybe the person that's really good at regging out screens, they should just do that.
Yeah.
And then the other person that learns to load, because I've had people that load like they're just kick ass, loaders, like they're killer and they can load faster than anybody. And,
Yep.
and then I've had people that can reg out screens faster than anybody. And so it's interesting, you start looking at different things because all of a sudden you have this sense of urgency, and you have a schedule to keep, and you have orders that you have to get out, and it seems like there's problems all the time. So you find like experts.
Yep.
You find out who likes loading the best and who likes offloading the best and who likes, regging out screens the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who sets up might be really good at setting up, but every single one of his shirts is crooked because he can't load for shit. So it's kind of need to pick and choose with stuff like that. I think the other thing is, though, going from manual to an auto is I feel like a lot of people just think in their mind that, okay, I need to buy the press. So they go buy the press, and then they find out their dryer doesn't keep up, or they need 3-phase, or they need a compressor that can handle everything. And not only do they need a compressor, they need a chiller. And then they realize with the auto that they need someone at the end of the dryer to offload the shirts because they're printing way faster and all these other things. And it turns into your investment of whatever, it depends on your press, but say it's 75 to 100K on a press, turns into 150K because you're buying all those other things. And then, like I said, then you end up hiring another employee, which turns into another 50K a year and so on. So it's a lot more than just like getting an auto and being like, all right, I'm just a different shop now. It's a big shift in the whole thing. You need to be prepared for that. You can't just walk into it and get a press and see what happens.
Yeah. It's like, well, with doing the renovation over at the other studio, like that in itself was enough on getting all the things that, you try to get, or all the things you need to get for an auto shop, different screens, I remember I was like, the press came in, we had, forklift, we moved all the crates in the studio and we were working around the crates, and, then we were about to have our install guy come out. And in that moment, I realized I don't have a pallet jack. I'm like, oh, I guess I need one of those. And no joke, I jumped on Facebook Marketplace, and the dude, $125, looks great. He literally dropped it off next day, literally right before the tech came out, so that we can use that to move the press base to and it's just all those little tiny expenses that you just don't think about. And, again, we can't make this one list that will cover everything, but that's obviously one thing that we want to do, and that you guys do on a regular basis, just through, your guys' podcast, but just informing these people, because this step is, it's a huge risk. It's a huge step. It's literally you take everything you know about screen printing and you don't throw it away, but it's just it's an upgrade. You like, oh, well, my underbase or this and that doesn't work like it does, on my manual to the auto, and it's figuring all that stuff out. But literally, I've just going auto humbles yourself extremely. and you're just like, okay, listen for your guys' episodes, and you guys just said every single time, go slow. The machine can go fast.
Yeah,
You
it doesn't
go
need
slow,
to.
but it doesn't need
That's
to.
the thing is like any manufacturer is going to tell you they're going to be like, oh, this press will do 900 shirts an hour and all this other stuff. It's like that's not it's not what it needs to do. That's not an average speed. So like even our auto that we start people on, we bought foot pedals for.
Yeah.
Because like your first like week or two of running the press, like don't try to put it in auto, just use a foot pedal.
Yep.
Like get used to loading the shirt, feeling comfortable that when that thing spins, it's where it needs to be, and you have everything done correctly. Because if you're like trying to set it a 5-6 second dwell or whatever, you're going to be like nervous and you're going to load it and it's going to be crooked and it's going to be weird. And I'm like, nope, hit the foot pedal.
Yep.
So eventually they get so used to hitting the foot pedal and they know they're loading good. I'm like, all right, now turn it on auto and then go. And it's like, it's just baby steps. That's why we always say like, by the time you hire someone to run an auto, they're not trained in a week or two. It's like, I don't trust that person's really good at that press for at least a year.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they haven't messed up enough yet.
For sure.
Like they can figure out how to put ink in the screen and print a shirt, but until they mess up like 30 times and ruin like 30 jobs, they're not going to have the feeling like they know what they're doing until they're like, oh, I've done that before, or I burned a pallet, or for instance, printed a pallet and destroyed a press arm.
Yeah. That's me. Yeah. The cool thing that with our transition is that, Jordan, he's been working at an auto shop running an M&R press for 6, or actually not 6 years. He's worked there for 6 years, but he's had, I think, 2 or 3 years of experience running auto. So that was super nice. Him coming in, and of course he had to get acquainted, but like he was just, I mean, it was a really cool opportunity in the aspect of like, he's cutting out a lot of those mess ups and stuff like that because he's teaching me. But like I've recently ran the press, over the weekends, just kind of catch up on some jobs by myself. And I'm like, oh, this is why, hey, knock out that, 50 piece order or whatever. And it, takes, a few hours just because it's multicolors and this and that. And like, I printed a platen, I messed up the cycles mode on my machine. I was like, I'm just going to manually left index each one of these and just, so I don't mess up any shirts. And the time is that big misconception. It's just like, take it easy. Like I start all my jobs out on a 9.9 because that's as high as it goes dwell time. And then as I'm loading, I just
turn it down,
touch it on the screen. Kick it down, 4 or 5.
Or not. I mean, 9.9 is still way fucking better than printing manually, speed wise, and also just on, the toll it takes on your body. And so when I got my auto, I just couldn't believe it. I was so amazed by being able to print 6 colors all at the same time and not have to, do that one at a time and just
color flash.
Yeah. I mean, it completely changed my life. Physically, because I had printed on a manual for 5 years, every single day. Like I printed 7 days a week into the night because that's, we were just trying to hashtag
side hustle,
side hustle, rise and grind, all that, but that was real, and that was how a lot of shops start is just, there was no way I wasn't going to succeed. I was going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I was successful. And so my body, it took a toll. And so getting that auto and being able to be so fast, I think that sort of plays into the point, like you said too, is that all of a sudden you start hiring people because you're just at such a different speed and you can accept. It's an auto is such a game changer because you can actually bid on a 1,000-piece order and be realistic about it.
Right, you're not looking at this and they're like, oh, that's a week of my life.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I could do this
a half day
lunch.
or something.
Yeah.
And so that's where like a person like Joann comes into place. Her somebody that has a role like hers to help you because you know what it's like being, on press and getting a phone call or, getting an email notification that you have to get a quote out and then you ignore that quote. Well, at SureKong, our speed to quote is like ridiculous. If an hour goes by, then something's wrong, And so, I don't know, Joann is, or a person like Joann handling all that stuff so well, like she does.
QuickBooks and quoting and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. I was just gonna, what's like, I want to hear everyone's like just day in the life, like, cause now that I got my feet wet a little bit, like I'm just so curious how other shops, like how's an order come in and from like start to finish without going into like crazy details, but like how many hands does it pass off to? And like, just to get a final, a post from grinding days of like, I quote it, order shirts, count them in, burn the screens, you're doing everything. But like, I don't know. I want to hear like your guys' like day in the life of like, just kind of your process and what you do. And I'll start with you first, Joe.
Yeah, she just mapped it all out on a dry erase last
I
week.
did, yeah, because Matt was out there because we just switched over to Printavo.
Nice.
And the day before, Wednesday was our first day.
Awesome.
Just implementing it. And it's amazing how different, after 12 years of using QuickBooks,
Yeah.
and then we had just dry erase boards for our jobs forever.
Yeah.
Like individual or dry erase boards on the ground. Then we moved to a big dry erase board. And then we moved to Trello much later on. And then Monday, which we use now, which we've built out.
Yeah. We use Monday too.
Yeah. So we use Monday and QuickBooks. And we make it work. Like we have our system and we have paper work orders.
Yeah.
So that's been how we've been functioning for the past, I don't know.
As far as Monday and QuickBooks, I don't know, 4 years maybe.
Yeah, with those in sync. And switching to Printavo, since I know how the order entry goes and all the work that takes to get everything up front and then to keep the accounting straight.
Yep.
Just switching over to Printavo and even just being in it for a couple, like day one was Wednesday and I had that day when we left. But just seeing it throughout the week, I mean, I think I'm going to look back and feel like we function like cavemen, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like with the system we use, I just can't even believe it. I think it's going to make the shop so much faster, more efficient, and it's going to cut out so much redundant work on the front that we would bottleneck trying to get orders in, because in QuickBooks you have to send out an estimate, and then they say yes, that estimate's approved. Then you have to convert it. You have to convert it to an invoice, resend it out, wait for them to pay, and then when it comes in, then you have to go in and print out the invoice, put all the paperwork together, then manually put it into Monday. And then I used to do all the buying too, which just shifted this year to shipping and receiving department too. So then I'd have to go through and buy and the stock issues.
Yeah.
And then the paperwork would leave and move out through the shop.
Yeah.
But now with Printavo, like all the automations, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I was like jumping for joy when I saw I'm like, all this redundancy is going to be gone.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to believe it.
Yeah, that's actually the stage we're in too. And this episode's not sponsored by Printavo.
There you go.
Yes.
Bruce just sent over like their newest thing, because we talked with him a few years ago, and our biggest thing was, we're not just a print shop. We do photography, videography, and all these other things. And so we needed something. We wanted a home base without having two home bases and jumping back and forth. And like now, it's like I realize all the redundant,
Yeah.
it's just like, and I'm doing all, like I told the guys the other day, I'm like my position in the company literally changed overnight to where I can't, like, I'm hardly on the auto, and like I was like super excited to some degree to be over there. Now it's just like I'm sales, invoices, fun, like real fun, ordering shirts, and and so now I'm just like, I need something to speed that up.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, in Printavo, you send out the quote and they approve it. It automatically flips to let them pay. And then once they pay, it comes in and notifies you. And that's it.
Yep.
And all this extra work we've been doing before is going to be gone. And that in itself is worth it for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think it's sort of the way a business scales, because what worked 10 years ago or 5 years ago, then all of a sudden doesn't work anymore. And you're not sure exactly when that happens, because
we're always trying to be better, but our process has changed so much throughout the years. We've just adapted.
100%.
I think just in a screen printing shop alone, the amount of your processes is
Every day.
Yeah, every day. And once you think you nailed it on the head,
You never have nailed it.
Yeah,
No.
It's like buying an old house. Like projects are never done. You're literally working on it all the time.
True.
I think like for us, like I'm a little more fortunate because a lot of my employees are people that I've had for 12 and a half years now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So like they're my core people that I trust to handle everything. Like I've been gone since Tuesday, and I haven't had a single call from work saying like, can you do this? Can you figure this out? Can you do this thing? Like they're just handling it.
Yep.
Like freight shipments have come in and like big invoices have been paid and everything. And like, I haven't done anything. I've literally been here hanging out with
We
these
look at the
fools.
video at Dylan's shop, and there's like a kegger.
I can look right now, literally, and see what they're doing.
Pizzas.
But
like
the thing
gaming.
is I've never been in the print side. Like you guys both print, and you kind of went from print to, like you said, now you're going into the office, and it's like I've always been in the office. Like that's how I always started. My first company was the button company, and like I didn't even make the buttons. I hired a friend to press the buttons, and I just did the marketing and the whatever. And it's like I've got my business to the point where I'm always working on the business and not in the business. So my job as the owner is I look for new big things for us to do, and I just work on processes all the time to be like, all right, well, this is how this flows, or new things, or like efficiencies and all this other stuff, or new equipment, or how to get better quality and all this other stuff. Like they're doing the day-to-day tasks of getting things done, and then I come in and I ruin everything for them and say, hey, I found this new way of doing things. Let's test it out and see if it works, or test out this new thing.
Business, not any business.
Yeah. So on the business for me is big. So like we have it pretty nailed to where it's like, customer service gets the email of like, this is what the order is. And they're also the ones like making the mock-up approvals and making the invoices and doing all that stuff. So once that's done, and we always have taken 100% payment up front. So like nothing happens until a payment comes in. So a payment comes in, that immediately goes from there to Chris, that it's paid. He orders the shirts, he adds it to the schedule. And then once it's on the schedule, Brian in the art department sees, okay, these jobs the steps need to be done. So he does the steps, marks them, puts them in the drive. They go to the dark room, and then the dark room makes the screens, and then production sees that the screens are done and everything's done. They print the job, and then shipping, receiving packs it and ships it out. And that's literally every single day. Like it goes step 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 and out the door. So for them, it's literally whoever's in that chair in that room, they just look at their tasks for the day.
Yeah.
They do their tasks, and it goes to the next person. So there's never like well, who's doing this? What job do we have to do today? Did so-and-so pay this? It's literally like, it doesn't leave step 1 until that is completed, and then it goes to step 2, and then that's completed, and so on. So I don't know, it's worked really well for us for a really, really long time. And like I said, Printavo has been great, and Matt came and pretty much did what he did with Andy, and like went through and like walked him through everything and put everything in. And Matt's a miracle worker, and we love him. Yeah. But I just told him at the end, I was like, this looks really great and awesome, but like my whole staff is running beautifully on the way we've done it for 12 years. Like I really don't know, like as awesome as this is, and there's certain things in my system where like it would benefit from, like the automations, or like, the text messages to a customer for them to pay instead of us just relying on email, or like all this other stuff that would benefit. But do I want to throw that big of a wrench into the works and be like, hey, everything we've learned and dialed in and been super comfortable with for all these years, do you want to learn something completely new and hopefully it'll be a little bit better?
I think it just becomes of how big of a pain point is it?
Right. Like it's not a pain point for us. It's just, I look at it as a shiny new thing of like, oh, this could text a customer for us, but it's like, do I need that though?
Yeah. It's going to make a massive difference in just the front end.
Yeah.
Yeah, for our shop, and every shop's different. I get it.
Right. And that's the big thing that people need to take away is there's no formula of like, this is how you run a print shop. It's like everyone is totally different. And it's like your shop versus my shop, we could do the same kind of prints, but like you were saying, like, what's the flow in here? Or like, I like this ink over this ink. And it's, well, that changes everything because your inks are different, and you have to have different temperatures and humidities and squeegee angles and like all this other stuff. It's not, my angles and pressures aren't the same as your angles and pressures for the same style print.
I mean, and because every shop is different, that means that there's probably no perfect software, for that shop. Maybe QuickBooks Monday combo works best for, better for one shop than it would with that.
I think it's easier when you're smaller.
It's just a very variable, like heavy industry. It's like, you just need to figure out your own way.
Before we go on to the next thing, to your point on being, working on the business instead of in the business, I think that's one of the most difficult things for a shop or for a shop owner, really I don't know, to grasp, because even though they understand that that's what they should be doing, it doesn't work out all the time. You know, like you just said, you've had somebody there for 12 and a half years, or most of your team has been in place for 12 and a half years. We have some people that have been there for very long too, but you know, when you, as the, I guess, add more and more people, and you get into a spot where I have been at times where I'm working on the business and not in the business, all of a sudden 3 are gone, or maybe even more, 5 are gone. And so we go from, 28 people to 23, and then we're trying to get back up. And so my point is that all of a sudden I'm not working on the business, and I'm
You're
supporting
filling those shoes.
Yeah, I'm supporting
lot
a
of hats.
role that somebody has left. And yeah, we have cross training, and yes, there's people that can step in and help out, but sometimes not always. And so it's weird. I've been trying to think of a couple of things, to control that, but it's tough, because then I guess we're going to be carrying extra, employees, an extra team, and extra labor costs. And so, like, if your perfect number is 20, let's say, should you have 24 people, like, and bench 4 of them that they're always there, just like waiting, and just to jump in? And
they're the insurance policy, is what I say at my shop.
yeah, but and so if you have that, cool. But then you're carrying 4 times, like you said a minute ago, $50K. That's $200,000 a year.
A lot of
Yeah.
people take vacations and get sick and whatever.
Well, that was the same thing, like back in 2020 or whatever. I realized how busy we were, and I had someone quit. Well, that was what started it off. Is I had someone quit who was a main press operator, and it screwed us because we didn't have someone to fill his shoes. And then I was like, all right, well, let's just run everything on one press, and then like we'll hire someone, get them trained up, and then the person who ran that press can run the bigger press, and so on and so forth. And it got to be this thing where I was just like, I don't want that to ever happen ever again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in place this insurance policy, and I'm going to basically kind of like what Andy does, just run like 2-man teams per both press. And they're both press operators. They're not like one knows how to do everything, one just pulls shirts. They both can run the press. So if one calls in sick, the other one runs the press that day.
Yep.
And they switch back and forth, and they switch roles and all this other stuff. So it's like I hired 3 more people just to make sure that it made us way more efficient, and we got way more stuff done, which is great. Yeah. But you look at it as a business owner of like, do I really need that person? And then you kind of like are like, nah, I don't really need that person. But then it's the insurance policy of like, now I know I'm not going to be screwed at any point because I've got extra people. Yeah. The hard part is in the slow months in our industry of like, January, December February. To the end of February. Yeah. You're kind of like those 3 extra people are kind of like, they leave early or whatever. Yeah. I mean, you find stuff for them to do, but like, I feel like those 3 months worth of pay for them is worth the other 9 months of the year where like, we're hoping, like we're even trying to hire other people. We're like, man, we got too much stuff to do. So yeah, that's the thing is I feel like you get what you pay for, kind of thing. And you need those people in the slow months because you really need them in the busy months.
Yeah. I feel like, right now, like I feel like I'm very much maxed out on employees, like just as far as cash flow and just how the business is running. Like, we have numerous different departments, we're, photo, video, design, screen printing and all that. And it's a very interesting business because, in the months where screen printing is down, video's up, and it just jumps back and forth. It's like, oh man, sign works down. It's like, oh, well, we get some royalty checks in the mail.
But that's super smart though. It's like you're diversifying to where you'll be okay in those times. Yeah. It's the same thing like in mine. Like I'm kind of only one, like I just do screen printing. Yeah. So it's like I'm thinking of different markets that are like heavy printers in the wintertime. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get into doing more like if it was say an online store to where I know schools are going to want to do like a Christmas sale or something, or, whatever. It could be anything. So that's why we got into fulfillment, because it was the same thing. Like all these big comedians or other artists that want to do stores, they're heavy in the wintertime. So it's like, that's more work for me to bring in for my insurance policy people to print. So, like you said, you having all these other things, it's like, all right, well, this is slow. Let's go harder in this other thing.
Isn't that wild? Because you were just, speaking about, being maxed out. Isn't that wild though, with that, as the owner, as the entrepreneur or founder of the company, you have this responsibility, I feel, very responsible for a lot of people because, they have mortgages, they have kids, they have car payments, and, they have to buy baby formula. Yeah. And so, and Dylan was talking about, what happens when you slow down or what happens if you hire too many and you have to lay off that one and stuff. And so I think that's, shops like ours that are, well balanced in like empathy, but also, hey, there's a P&L that we have to watch.
Right.
Those are hard decisions. And so you care, you care about your team and you care about, their bills too. And so you carry that weight. I carry that weight when I go home,
Yeah.
at night. And so, it's weird to have that responsibility. I started a screen printing shop to have fun and print some t-shirts and be cool and enjoy my day. And I like business too. I love the balance of art. And it's so weird that, I found a career that I can balance art and business at the same time. It's rad, but, all of a sudden, you turn into sort of what you're saying. You're printing less, you're doing less art, you're handling problems and putting out fires. And then all of a sudden you have this responsibility of this giant payroll
The thing is, you can get back to it though. Like you just need to figure out how to get through that bottleneck too. Like you right now, you could be like, oh, I'm making invoices and doing all this other stuff and artwork and printing films and stuff. But there's things like we've found, like, like Graphic Source or whatever, where it's like, all right, I can hire this company to handle all my artwork and steps and all this other stuff. And then I can get back to, like, you can be like, all right, and now all I have to do is invoices and I can pop back over to the shop and I can help on this or I can do this other thing. So there's certain things that you can figure out like that will get you back there. It's just another, like, being a business owner, basically the short story is that you just put out fires all day long.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just going to work and being like, oh, this is like the night before, you can't make a list and you're like, this is what I'm going to tackle tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it never happens ever. Yeah. Like, ever. You could go in. I do it all the time. Like, I set my email list and I'm like, all right, I'm going to hit all these people up today. And that could be Monday. I might not actually get to those till Friday. Yeah. Because, like, all week long, something happened or a shipment came in or someone comes in and says the printer doesn't work or this doesn't happen. It's like all day long. You're just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's like, we can all say what we want to do, but that's not what's going to happen at all.
Yeah. Well, our last video we did, we were like so excited. It's like, because the struggle we have is that, we do videos of us printing jobs, and that just adds that other thing of like all the timing has to work out of like, oh, hey, I'm just going to burn these screens tonight, so we're prepped and ready. It's like, Jared's like, I want some B-roll footage of you burning the screen. It's like, oh, sweet. So I got to wait for that.
What an asshole.
Yeah, right. And so, like, there's all these things I have to, like, wait for, to where it's like, it's just a slow process. So you
should just fire him.
Yeah. We finally
have some payroll.
Oh, I feel better already.
Well, see you guys later.
Podcast over. Click.
Deletes it instantly.
But like, so we just had to have a sit down, and I told myself, there it is. Always. We had to sit down and tell ourselves that two Fridays out of the month are our video days, and we have our screen printing jobs, our deadlines, we have to get them done the day before or whatever, so that we can cut, those entire days are just for shooting video. It can go really well, and we could shoot. Well, we're also doing our podcast that day. So podcast in the morning, then start doing a video. If we get the video done by 2:00, then sweet, let's run some jobs or do something, for a few hours and, call it a day. But soon as we did that, we're like, yep, this is it. Power went out here. So I couldn't, I was mid, burning a screen back there. Power shut off here. And then we got that figured out. Recorded our podcast, ate lunch, went over there. That's when I broke my press. And it was just like, yeah, that's how the day goes. It's just like, I planned it out. We blocked out the time, and it just didn't work that way. So guess what? We filmed the video the next day too. And we, just juggling time and making it work. But it's,
But did you give up, Jonathan? Did you quit?
No, I did not.
You're still here, bud.
I know. Yeah. No, that's again, this shirt and our whole kind of thing we promoted with this shirt is that screen printers are a different breed. It takes a different like, and
What's that jackass saying? If you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough. That's us.
yeah, exactly.
We're dumb as fuck, and we just have to be really tough about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's good to hear like when you guys like talk about it's like you guys call each other just crying talking about your work.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Work days and you know, it really in this season now it just really resonates. I took a week off a few weeks ago, a month ago, something like that. And it was one of those things where I couldn't afford to take it off, but I couldn't afford not to take it off. And I left, came back, and it was fine, whatever. But it was one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, my business cannot function without me. That's a massive problem. I need to, again, Printavo, or I need to work on my business, and I can't do that while I'm inside of it, like the day-to-day, burning screens, printing artwork, doing all that. But it's like I need to be able to, fly out or go somewhere to an expo and not have to worry about, things, not getting done and not shipping out. And I need that system to try to dial it in, especially with 2 locations and there's the craziness here.
I think it's either a system, a process you can put in place, or just hiring another person.
Yeah.
You need to just take that leap with one of them and try it out, or try out each of them and then hire the person last, because the person's the one that sucks the most to say, it wasn't a good idea to hire you.
Yeah.
Like, that should be the last option.
Yeah. And that's the other hard thing too, because like, I'm like you, like I hire all my best friends, so it's like, because one, I trust them and, and usually,
or the nice thing about that is they give you more leeway than a regular person. You could tell them like, hey, I'm trying to go through this thing right now. I really feel like I need somebody for this position.
Yeah.
But the truth of it is we're going to test it out and find out in 6 months if that's the right choice or not.
Yeah. That's really funny. You said that because I mentioned to the guys, we get hit up quite a bit, and we have some local people around here that's like, I would love to apprentice in your guys' shop. And I'm just like, oh, for me, like, I feel like I'm taking advantage, but like at the end of the day, it's like, I shouldn't feel that way because I created a shop and an environment and a culture that they want to be a part of. So it's like, well, I had to grind to make this. Why don't you spend some extra hours and come in and help us out and clean some screens, fold some shirts, catch some shirts, and see if you're a good fit for the team. And then, in X amount of months, hire you.
The other part of that
goal, right?
The other part of that is it goes back to the original topic was going from manual to auto. And Andy was saying, you don't have to go fast. Like, you can just have the auto to help you get things done when you need to get them done. Yeah. But it's the quality of life thing. It's like you can hire so-and-so, like you said, that guy to clean screens and this. But what you should do when you can is automate certain things, like an auto reclaim or whatever. It's not that you need it because you have 200 screens a day.
Absolutely.
You need it because you want to keep that person happy who you hired off the street, and they're not sitting there scrubbing screens all day. Right. They're running them through a machine and hitting the green button and going and doing this other thing and this other thing, and they're more apt to stay for a year or 2 or 12 years or whatever because their job doesn't suck.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's kind of like that's the reason why some people in a garage shop go from a manual to an auto isn't necessarily because they have 100,000 jobs to do. It's because they want to be done by 5 o'clock to have dinner with their family.
Absolutely.
So I had a thing happen because what you said a minute ago resonated with me about taking a break. And it was just recently because coming right before we came here on, I guess it was Wednesday, we had just a shit show of a day. And I think it was, I had probably put in 12 hours straight, and it was around 6 o'clock or so. And I knew I had a couple more hours left. And I had a decision. It was like, okay, I will just get it done now, knock it out, and then go home. But I was so stressed at that moment, and I just felt it physically too, just the weight of everything in that day.
Well, and then you went straight for like 12 hours.
Yeah, and I had just gone like marathon, right? Yeah. And so I said to her, let's just get out of here, for an hour. We're gonna go home and have dinner. Mm-hmm. And she was gonna stay home and do her thing, and because we were leaving, she needed to pack and stuff, and so I'll go back to the shop. And that break, that 15-minute drive home, 30 minutes at home, with dinner and just being at home. And in our space, that we like, and then the drive back to the shop, I felt so much better. And that last 2 hours was easy. In fact, it was kind of fun. It was a whole different vibe and energy. And so, I don't know, that's I would say that's something that I was reminded of just recently, is that, once you pushed yourself to the limit, I was really capable when I was even younger of to keep going, but I think it took too much of a toll. Take that little time out.
Yeah. I think that's something I'm personally coming to terms with recently too, over the past year, is that like, I'm generally happy at the shop, but there are things that, you push down as stressors and like all sort of stuff and whatever. And like, I kind of got to a point where I was like, I need to do something. And then I started walking. And so now I walk every single day, and I like it a lot. And I try to walk like twice a day. And now me and Andy fucking, as usual, are in competition with each other, sending each other our steps every day.
He's photoshopping in his steps.
Right. It's kind of negating the point of walking, but it's kind of like, I found out after, like a month of doing it, that like, I feel so much better like all day now. Like if I get up in the morning, I take my kids to school, I immediately drive to the lake, I walk around the lake, I get back to the shop, I have time, like a half hour before anybody even gets there, to have more personal time to just sit down and relax. And it's like, just doing those, I feel like so much better, like healthier, like I'm trying to get better health wise, but I'm also like, it's just a stress relief to be like, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to put my headphones in, I'm going to listen to music, and just nobody's poking me.
Out in nature.
Nobody's asking me for anything. No, nothing. It's just my own personal time. It's like Andy said, that like half hour to get away. It's just like, I feel like that's something that I'm personally learning right now, is that as an owner and whatever, like you need just your own, like nobody's around, like just quiet time.
Yeah. I was able to get away for a week with my wife, and we had to take our daughter, she's only 10 months, and kind of not gonna unleash the beast of 3 kids with my mother-in-law, but we got away, and the thing I thought of, like, once I got back, it was like, business is still up and running, like we pull in like this just weight of like, oh, it's just gonna burn, or it's just it's just not gonna, it's like, well, invoices got paid, stuff got done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit behind because I was away, but it's fine. It's kind of normal.
But you're recharged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was nice. It was, the little getaway was challenging in itself to some degree, but again, I was just trying to perspective change. It was probably the first time in 7 years I was actually able to, besides one day, Jared called me to let me know that there was water leaking into our other studio over there. That was the only like moment really to where I was like, oh, okay, my brain's kind of back here and not, but yeah, I definitely.
You guys made me want to check the shop, and I just pulled up the cameras.
Nobody's there.
Nobody's there. They're probably in the office playing Xbox.
So I said they're probably gaming.
That's so good.
No,
thank you, God.
They're there, I think.
He's like, oh,
The presses. The thing is, oh, there she is. All right, the presses are on. It's just not spinning right now.
They have a different video feed from yesterday. Like
They like taped it over the camera. It's actually a rave going on right now.
Good.
This podcast is sponsored by Ep08. Why give a chunk of your hard-earned dollars to ink monopolies? Your income deserves to stay in your pockets. Not only does Ep08 cost less than the other guys, it works just as effectively, if not better. The low-cure ink is short-bodied and creamy, making it extremely easy to work with. Let's talk mixing systems. The 15 ready-to-use colors can be pulled straight from the bucket or used to make custom colors, since it also doubles as a mixing system. That's not all. With FN Ink's 8 new specialty inks and additives, a printer's only limit is their creativity. Put your foot down. Take a stand.
Don't stand up, though.
Oh, I want to. Take a stand against plastisol ink prices with FN Ink. I've been using FN Ink for a few years now, and I have had no complaints. I love the fact that when the mixing system came out, I didn't have to completely buy a whole new setup. I already had the colors with me in my shop to make any custom Pantone. If you want to give FN Ink a try, head over to fn.ink. Links are in the description. back to the podcast.
I was going to ask you, JoJo, because, the fact that I hear, you're putting in 12-hour days and stuff like that. And, like, what's that do for like, cause I know you're at the shop a lot too. So like, what's that do for you? The fact that, Handy has to put in so many hours sometimes, or do you just get it? Like, because you're so involved in
I've been there since the ground up, so I just get it. So it doesn't bother me. And we work well together anyway, because we both do different things. This year too, I've actually taken some time off where I can cut out and do some half days now, because I do have people in place that can help me to go work on my art and stuff like that. So, because that's my dream is, painting and drawing. That's what I love to do. So I don't know. I get it when he's there, and I get it. I want him to have his people in place too, so that he can free himself up more. And he was kind of getting there, but then we had some people quit, some turnover, and so he's back there a lot more right now. And I just understand.
Yeah.
And that's like if the people that help support me too are out, and I have to go in and be there all day. Fine, I'll go put in the work and take care of everything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have one of the most supportive wives in the world. It is extremely hard to explain the screen printer life.
We just go home and we just know.
Yeah, exactly.
I just know what you went through.
Yeah.
Not to get into it too much because I don't really want to, but I've always had that struggle because I don't work with my wife. Like, she has her own thing and I have my own thing. And it was 12 years of me saying no, I gotta go back to work tonight. And it was always an argument. I was like, why are you never here? And all this other stuff. And it's a lot of back and forth. And then recently last year, she started her own business finally. And then it's just funny. We'll be at dinner and she pulls out her phone and she's doing stuff. And I look at her, I'm like, how many years have you yelled at me for pulling my phone out at the dinner table? Or just certain things with the business. And she's like, oh, I got to go back to the shop and I got to do this. I'm like, I will kill you. We've argued so much over this stuff. And it's now you get it.
Yeah. No.
Now you're in charge of your business and you need to do this. And it's
well, it's hard to understand if you're not in it.
No, I know that's exactly. But I always try to explain that. I'm I have to do these things. I literally have all these people that count on me to do these things. And I have to go do these things in order for them to have a place to work and all these other things.
Yeah.
It was always a struggle. And now it's just so gratifying to be like, I told you so.
Told you so.
Should we all just be kids again? Maybe we should go back.
Are we really just grown kids anyway?
Yeah, mom can do the laundry and we get summers off to do
my mom still cleans
nothing.
the shop for me.
Dylan, you are maybe just a big kid.
I am a giant child, yeah. Playing video games at work and eating candy.
No, because my wife's a stay-at-home mom, so she has kid conversations all day long, and so Memorial Day, I told her, I was like, hey babe, I need to go in, and I and it didn't click, and it's understandable, of course I fill her in on, what's happening and this and that, but it's hard to explain that, so this is a very big client of mine, pays our bills, brings in good money for the shop. And, it's actually my fault because, some things went differently. And so there was a deadline for a festival that they needed the shirts for. And when I say, yeah, I can do that and I can make that happen for you. I don't think there's been a time to where I didn't hit a deadline, and that I'm fortunate enough, and because things happen, shipping, all that stuff, but I was able to, I went in for a few hours. I got the job done, and, and then I came home and had a really great evening, and so I'm trying to translate to my wife and just to other people listening too, that sometimes you have to go do it, and just don't look at it as it's Memorial's Day and everyone else gets the day off. And it's just not everybody else has this business that they've built. And I'm proud of this business, and I'm thankful for my employees. But
well, it's not you want to go in on Memorial Day either. You would like to sit home and eat a boiled hot dog, but you're not. You're you know, you
think-
got to do what you got to do.
I think we signed up for this. I think the moment we said, okay, you know, this is, we're going to be, you know, we're going to take the risk, we're going to start a business and this is going to be our thing. And we want it to succeed. I think that, we're committed to that. And so, along the way, you make sacrifices. And, I always tried to look at them as investments, you know, look, I can't go do this thing. I'm going to be gone for a few hours, but we're investing in our future. And so I think if that plays out right. And eventually, you know, those days that, like you just said on Memorial Day, they don't happen that often. It's less and less and less, you know, but
it is.
I think as long as I think you're really understanding that sometimes that happens. If it happened all the time, well, then I think at some point, you know, it would probably break. But, you know, I hope anyway that you understand that, and all of our
Turn and face her.
understand that. Let's renew our vows right now. So I promise to protect you from UFC fighters. No,
Squirrels.
I did say squirrels.
And then a squirrel ran across the tree behind us.
I think, I don't know. I feel like for me specifically, like I grew up, I didn't really have a whole lot. Like I was fine, but like I look at my kids now and I look at like my house and my family and my business and all this other stuff. It's like I have so many more opportunities in life, and my kids have so many more opportunities, and my family, everything have so many more options and opportunities, and they don't go without for the most part, which is a catch-22 or whatever. But I'm so proud of the fact that like I've done what I've done for so long, and I have opportunities to do other things too, like travel and like hang out with you guys, like all this other stuff, because of those late nights and those weekends,
Absolutely.
and Memorial Days and all this other stuff. And that's what I try to explain when it comes down to like, oh, why do you gotta go back in? It's like, well, why did you want to go to Disney every year for the past 5 years?
It's true.
And it's like, because I'm busting my ass is how we can go do those things.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
I mean, other than that, it's just like there's so much that goes into it. And
Brent's like, why can't I have Taco Bell? I'm like, well, you know,
you didn't let me go back to work last night. So, like, that chalupa? Nah.
No.
Even the first 5 years too, there was no vacations.
Yeah.
Like, we were open weekends and we were there all day.
I've had to
every
sell
day.
like personal items to make payroll and like all these other things. Like the first like 5 years, it's just like you do literally everything and anything to make it work. And it's like, then you get to the point where you get enough systems and processes in place, and you're just like, oh, cool.
that's definitely the goal, right?
Yeah.
Get the right people.
Yeah, is to get there.
Yeah.
It'll happen if you work on it and if you're passionate about what you're doing. If you're just trying to start a business to make money, then you're not supposed to be starting a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like none of us did this to be like, I'm going to be a millionaire. We're doing this because we're idiots, and it's what worked.
For sure. I try to, you know, just balance perspective, because that's what it's always about. It's, you know, oh, I get, you know, if I have to work Memorial Day or work a weekend or work some extra hours, my wife, you know, I say, you know, we work 9 to 5. She calls me a 520 husband. I'm like, hey, I had, you know, I had to burn a screen real quick. You know, it's like always that, you know, I can't get home at that 5 o'clock, but, you know, I just, you know, I try to, it's all about perspective and the aspect of, I told you guys on our podcast with you that, you know, my daughter had an incident and hit her head and had to go to the hospital. And then we had to just kind of watch her for an entire week. And it was one of those beautiful things to where I was like, I'm not going to work. Like, I took an entire week off, whether, you know, the business blew up or not, it doesn't matter. But, you know, if I would have done that, if I didn't have my business, or if I was just an employee, it's looking for a new job.
Throwing a flag.
How am I going to pay the medical bills now? Because, you know, like there's just all these other things that, you know, pile up. And so, you know, I'm always, you know, it's all about that perspective and trying to, you know, if you're a wife or a significant other that, you know, is connected to the screen printing world, it is a crazy industry. I just keep on telling it, we're a different breed, and it takes a certain person to do what we do. And so
To do it well.
yeah, to do it well and to always try to,
And the thing that a lot of people don't realize though too is it's custom work. Like every job is different. You never know what jobs are coming in every week. It's not like you're not selling brake parts. You're doing totally different things. You're waiting for customers to come to you and all this other stuff. It's like you never know what your hours are going to be necessarily unless you're like, got all this stuff on lock. It's just you do what you got to do.
Yeah. I always tell my wife, we're just in a season. She's like, you've been in the same season. I'm like, it'll change. I just keep on telling her that. So I want to ask you guys, a 105 episode shirt show. Mm-hmm. What's next? What's the next 6 months?
106.
I knew he was going to say that.
You nailed it. Dang, it feels like I'm talking to freaking Jared.
Next question.
No, what's do you guys have any
104 was 2 years. We've done every Sunday for 2 years straight.
I'll break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that when we hit 100, for me anyway, I wasn't sure what was next. I don't think any of us knew. In fact, I was ready to take a break. Yeah. And I didn't even really know it until I was coming up to like 97, 98, 99. We hit 100. I'm like, hey, wait a second, we've done this 100 fucking weeks.
2 years.
And then we did the math and we're like, well, if we do this for 3 to 4 hours every Sunday. I was like, that's 400 hours of us sitting here talking.
And all
your
this other
prep
stuff.
time.
Yeah.
And so I thought that, while we love talking to all these shops and making what turns out to be friends, with these shops and sharing all this stuff with the industry and trying to help the industry.
Yeah.
We hit 100. And for me, I was like, I don't know, I think something needs to change. Something has to be different. And maybe we don't tell a dad joke anymore.
That's it.
And then
that was the only thing we changed.
Right on.
Maybe it's a mom joke.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so I was like, what is it going to be? And I thought I needed some time off so that we could figure that out. Mm-hmm. But I think that what we decided was that, okay, well, let's just change it up for now and let a few episodes go by and then we'll hopefully find that out. And so what we did is and I was actually having a conversation with Farrig and Bruce even. And what happened was kind of serendipity. We saw that robot video, and I was actually sitting. We were watching. Was it Ozark or something? I can't remember. We're watching something, and I was like, wait, what if we just do this thing with Printavo podcast, and we talk about this robot, and that's it, because that sounds really fun. And I was fired up about it, and
offloading, right?
Yeah, this robot offloader. And so that's what we decided to do. And then it was fun. And those, like you say, those goobers were pretty fun to hang with. And so we decided to do a part 2. And then, and then this dude sent us this crazy long, incredible story that's coming out
Monday,
about how he persevered. Cause he was like, what do you think my shop hack should be? And I was like, dude, it's just probably perseverance. How did you pull this off? I don't know. Yeah. Cause he was up against everything. Mm-hmm. And so that
one after another.
Yeah. It's an amazing story.
I was really stoked to talk to him and share his story, because I think that a lot of shops will identify, really, really relate to that.
Yeah.
And then this Becker, and then, the Indianapolis thing happened, and Becker, we were going to do our first on-site, podcast. And then we were just going to come hang, and cause I had never, seen your shop or anything like that. And you're like, hey, what if we did this mini episode? I'm like, hell yeah. And so
you're different.
Yeah. You know what? It just worked out for me.
Yeah.
It worked out for Dylan.
And there was a lot of things too, where we were talking, we got ideas from other friends and stuff, where we were like, we've done all these episodes where we talk to all these shops and we get, their story and everything else. But it's like, well, what if we do that? But we also have more series where we talk to Scott Fresner, and then we were like, we really want to talk to Goudray, and then, these people that have been around for forever. And there's a whole new era of printers coming in that might not know who those people are. And then you find out that these dudes have a resume 10 pages long of inventing the things that we're using today and take for granted. And it's like, all right, well, maybe we do a 3-part series with veterans of the industry, or we did 2 episodes with Stephen and Bruce. And it's like, all right, well, let's pick episodes that are more focused on specific topics. talking to a lawyer about like what we actually as printers should like watch out for or take care of, or insurance person that's like, yeah, this happens all the time, you should actually look into this. But
Just,
it's like,
you know,
we don't want to do everyone like that, but it's like, you know, let's do a shop interview and let's talk to someone specifically about this topic. And then, because I feel like for a while we were getting into the rhythm of just like,
Feel like
tell us how you started,
repeat.
and then it was like this thing and this thing, and
Which is
that's
great.
fine.
Like,
Like,
those are great stories.
it always turns into something. It's never just like the same shit over and over. And we never script anything either, so other than like quick takes. Yeah. But it's like, you know, it's nice to hit that milestone of 100 or whatever and be like, all right, well, this is the things that we should change and make it a little bit better. And I feel like we're doing that. We've done it, and like even the past like 4 episodes have been like rejuvenating of like fun,
because
like change it a little bit.
The fact that you guys hit 100, like that's like a big deal. Like I don't know if you guys really.
What's
fully
huge
grasp-
for us, I feel like, isn't necessarily because us, it's just like every week, it's like a routine of like we made it to 100. Is when you hear from people that are like, I've listened to every episode, and I go back and listen to some over and over.
Yeah,
And I'm just
3
like,
hours.
what is wrong with you? Like, you have to have something wrong with you. Like,
I was impressed with just the consistency.
Yeah,
Every Sunday, like he's prepping and getting ready, and it takes up half his day.
yeah.
And same with you, I'm sure, getting ready for all this stuff also.
yeah, well, there's things too. Like, we feel like, you know, we want to make sure it's out every Monday. Like, we feel like we want to make sure that it's going to happen. So there's weeks where, you know, it's a holiday weekend, and we're both like, well, I guess we do it on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. during work, and we make it happen,
work it
and
out.
we get it done. And it's so that the people who are dedicated to listening to it every Monday have that episode on Monday.
Yep.
Last thing we want to do is just be like, we just didn't feel like doing it this week. And like,
Well, the reason why I asked is like consistency is key. Obviously, we know that just within videos and stuff like that. Like, if you're on YouTube and you're doing YouTube and stuff, like you have to be consistent, or people just fall off. And you know, like you guys, like you know, we all have this common goal of, you know, educating people, teaching people, you know, just creating cool relationships across the board. And one, like seriously, again, congratulations on over 100 episodes, like, because that's just massive.
Cheers.
Yeah, seriously. Again,
Taking your drink.
ting ting ting.
Think.
Yeah, it's
You don't get to cheers.
You can cheers it, and then I'll drink it.
you just baby bird it to your mouth.
please.
Come here.
But yeah, like the reason why I asked that question is just like, you know, gotta keep it hot, you know, like just trying new stuff, you know, like, cause we're in that endless thing of like, all right, what do we do a video, you know, of, you know, like it, like, oh, well, I could teach people how to code a screen, you know, like, but like, what am I going to have fun at, you know, while doing the thing I love and teaching other people. And so, yeah, consistency, the fact that you did
I think the thing for us though too is there's a lot of things that we look at where we're like, I don't want to do something just to do it. Or, you know, there's certain things with like sponsors or whatever. It's like we're only taking on sponsorships from people that are people that we actually use, respect, and can say, like when we say about a product, it's because we're using it and we love it and we're doing it because we love that thing. It's the same with like a topic or something. Like we've had manufacturers be like, you know, me and Andy are M&R people. And like we like our M&Rs. M&Rs approach us to be like, we want to sponsor the show, and we tell them no because we don't want to be biased in any way. We don't want to be like two M&R guys have a podcast and then it's sponsored by M&R, and then it's like, well, what about the rock people and the Anatol people and all this other stuff? They feel like weird being on a M&R show, and it's stuff like that, or just like a certain topic. It's like we're not doing any of this to like try to like get the numbers up. Like obviously we were talking earlier about monetization or something on YouTube, and it's like I don't even think ours does anything because we swear every other word, and like we talk about things that probably wouldn't be on. I made a clip.
Don't say shit, say poo.
Right. I made a clip once to like as like a thing. I was like, oh, maybe we should like put some money behind boosting this on Facebook, and it got denied because there was like 100 things in it that couldn't be put on Facebook.
You know what? Like I think it's the same for you guys, is that if no matter what dollars we bring in from you know, our supporters of the show, our sponsors, like the best feeling in the world is when we get a message.
Yeah.
And like the same for you when you get a comment or a message.
So true.
And you're like, oh my God. And then we share it. Like I'm like, holy, sometimes they go to direct to Dylan because they relate to Dylan, or sometimes they go to me.
I mean, we're not knocking on each other, but that is the case. So there's a lot of people that like their shop's a lot like mine, or they're a lot like Andy's or whatever. And we share them with each other. We have a group that's me and Andy and Chad, and we
Called Shit Show.
Shit Show. Yeah. And we share like all the things. And it's so crazy. Like you don't think about like, we're just two assholes sitting around a microphone being like, who do we want to talk to this week? And we get like selfish things out of it where we learn from them and we do all this other stuff. We enjoy doing it. Yep. But there's people who actually listen to us and they're like, oh, you saved my shop. And like, I was thinking about quitting or doing this other thing and you made me want to keep going, or,
So true.
you know, all this other, or I learned this thing, this technique, or I use Frank screens and now my prints are way better and stuff like that. It's just like, hell yeah.
Isn't it
like,
the neatest when you get that message and you read through it and I read it again and then it's from like even, who knows, like Norway or whatever. And you're like across the world and this person actually heard us and listened to us and it made a difference. And isn't that the greatest? And so, I mean, that's what I really like, is to know, because sometimes you go and you do this thing and you're like, you know, and you drive home and then you're like, was it, you know, is that worth anything? Like, is there any value to that? I mean, it was cool that we talked to this shop or this person and we had this conversation, but is it going to have any effect on somebody? And then it does, and you get to hear that. And that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jared and I, we're on that constant thing of, you know, I hired Jared out. I didn't have any outside work of like, oh yeah, we're just going to go out and do videos. I was like, I'm hiring you legitimately to film me screen printing.
And it was one of the best things you ever did.
It absolutely
Slow clap.
was.
You're gonna be able to have like a Kanye documentary.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
No, it really was. It was, I tell people to this day, literally, Jared, he's not allowed to leave me. He literally couldn't, because it's weird that video is so attached to the screen printing that we do. Mm-hmm. I don't think I could do screen printing without it.
Was it
like,
weird?
imagine screen printing without anyone knowing you're screen printing.
No.
Right.
Was it weird when you showed up the first day and he popped his shirt off and you were like, hey man, you know, like maybe the shirt on for the video?
Yeah, no, he's always so excited. I'm like, wait, are you filming?
That's on his own hard drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dim the lights, will you? You gotta go back to work again?
That's pretty much it. I do have a funny question for Dylan.
Oh, cool.
How much seriously do you love yard work?
I fucking love yard work.
Dude, you are dedicated, my friend.
Well, again, it goes back to, I don't know. I'm very much like my dad, and my dad loves yard work. It's like his favorite thing. And I almost got a tattoo once, like on my thigh, and I still might do it someday. There's a great picture of my dad on his lawnmower with like a beer. And my dad modifies his lawnmower. He like puts like a car horn on it, and he has like a USB charger for his phone. And he has like all these like features and things on his lawnmower. And it's just like, as a kid, you see your dad, like your idol, like riding around a lawnmower. He just loves that shit. You know, he's got no shirt on. He's got his white New Balances on, his fucking jean shorts, and he's just mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
And I like, as I grew up, the first job I had was to mow my neighbor's lawn. He had like a couple big lawns, and I had a riding lawnmower. I've always just loved it. Again, it goes back to the walking. It's like, nobody's bothering me. I just have the lawnmower humming. I'm just driving. I'm doing circles. Plus, I have like some OCD, so for me, it's like straight lines and like mowing the grass and stuff is nice.
Absolutely.
But like growing up and getting your own yard, and it's like, again, it's another thing that I can do that's like nobody's bothering me. I'm just doing my own thing. And it's one of those things that's the gratifying part of like, when you're done, you can see what you did and accomplish. You know what I mean? It's like, I can literally complete this task today.
Yeah.
And
unlike screen printing.
Right. And then I like to take it to the extreme too, because it's just whatever. And like now I have that big sun hat. I have like the Pit Viper sunglasses.
Beautiful.
I have, the jean shorts and the white, like tall socks and the New Balances. So it's so great when people like drive by my house and they're like, look at this asshole in his yard. It's just like, it's my favorite thing. Like, I like it a lot.
I have a request, and you can cut this out if it runs too long or whatever. But Joann, she has this sticker right here, PGM, Print Girl Mafia, and we actually have another member of the Print Girl Mafia here in the room, and maybe they could jump in and say a couple of words.
Absolutely.
And introduce themselves to your audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it.
Come on over.
We get to back out now, right?
You want to sit on her lap, or do you need your own mic?
Here, take mine.
Do I have to drink this too?
It's unsweetened, so I'll leave that one up to you.
Gross. From the South.
Jared. You and Jared are friends.
We are. We both speak like medium amount of Spanish.
Yep.
Sweet tea.
Yep. So introduce yourself and tell everybody.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm from Varsity Sports Shop in Florida. We're dropping sport this year though, so sorry, I forgot. We're 50 years this year, so
Nice.
we don't really sell sports stuff anymore. We do screen printing. I met JoJo because I harassed the guys
Print Hustlers last year.
at Print Hustlers, and I started some text messages with some other gals that we met, and I mostly don't have the time to text everyone individually
Yeah.
when we had questions, or because it's a different world for girls in the industry.
Yeah,
So-
I didn't have anybody to talk to being in the industry for 12 years and then just having a hard day or anything like that and just having somebody to relate to. I know we can talk, but just hearing other women's stories and how they're holding it together and, whatever they're doing or if they have any secrets or different processes that I'm doing. I just really wanted that community, and I never had it before.
Yep.
So when I met Christina, and then, like she said, she started this group.
I forced her to be friends.
Hey.
And I started a group chat, and I jokingly named it the Print Girl Mafia, and then it stuck. And
Yeah.
we all realized that exactly what she just said, that we were all lacking. And I originally was a teacher, so I came from a heavy female industry.
Yeah.
So coming into the male industry, male dominated, it was, I immediately looked for the tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for starting that because you guys know Dana Nash.
We're supposed to meet up with her after this, actually.
Yeah. So Dana reached out to me probably over a year or so ago. And it was one of those emails, you're like, you have all these orders, and then you just have this like nice, clean, like, hey, Golden Press Studio. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this. And it was a long email. And she was just like, hey, I noticed that you're local, and I want to get involved in screen printing, this and that. Like, would you mind if I came to your shop? And I know we've all gotten those emails of like, oh man, do I have the time? Like, is it going to mess with my day? And I was and I just could genuinely see she just wanted to know and wanted to learn. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. And she came to the shop, and I was able to just throw up all screen printing vomit knowledge on her, and just like, yeah, this is it. And she, no joke, she fell so in love with it. She like started hitting me up and was just like, so what do you need, or what do I need here? This and this and this. And I literally, it just got to the point where I was like, hey, I jumped on screenprinting.com and I literally bought your entire shop. I put it all in the cart and I screenshot and sent it over to her. And no joke, she ordered, just bought it all. And she actually, it was really cool. After she got going, she had a job and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's due this Friday. Just got the shirts in Thursday. The screens aren't burning right. Like, I was like, let's go. I was like, I'll send over the artwork, and burnt the screens, and we finished the job here in the shop. And I was just able to teach her and stuff like that. But that's real. I've been talking with her here recently, and she's like, oh yeah, love the fact that you guys created that. And it's well needed. We're, the dudes in the industry. We meet you first day and we'll make out with each other, it's like, hey, what's up? We're cool now, it's like, and it's just so, natural. But that's awesome that you guys started that.
So one of our initiatives is actually to donate to shelters, women and children's shelters, wherever we visit a trade show. And I reached out to her and she sent me some, like we work with the vendors. Our first one was Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And SNS donated to a shelter there. They did 50 duffel bags and a Toltex tea in each bag. And she sent me a list. So I'm working with one of my reps to get donated to one of the shelters around here because I knew she was local.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked. She's actually was heading to the show today. So we're supposed to meet up after.
Awesome. Yeah, she's killer. She's been
she's a badass.
real
for
good
sure.
friend. Yeah. So good. Well, the only thing I have to say, and I think Dylan's gonna be proud of me, and I really need to say this, Dylan. I feel like a total sex machine because I mow my yard wearing Upstate tees, and I just know you're proud of me.
You're gonna do some like upstate safety green
Yeah, that's what you
lawn
should
mowing business tees.
do. Yeah.
Greener grass mowing hot cut for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but safety green would be clutch.
Right?
And I got your next tattoo ID. Like you need just the hairiest patch on your body, and you need. Yes, absolutely. Or riding mower, and it's actually you. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm getting that, and it's gonna be you.
It's gonna be Dylan on you.
On a riding mower
Wearing his
with
hat.
your
It's gonna be Dylan's dad.
Oh my gosh, you'd flip a lid if I did that. Okay, let's go. Commitment. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on and hanging with us, and I don't know, party on.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, and thanks for lunch. I had promised on our last episode that you were buying everybody at the show lunch. So if you want to give me your card, I guess, and then I can give it back a little bit later.
Gotcha.
He didn't say which show.
Just,
He meant this show, so he's all set.
Just,
Oh, she saved you.
I got the Mafia.
say,
We
just-
take care of people.
just max it out. Love you. Awesome. Thanks guys so much. Love you. Over and out.